Deep within the vast pine forests of North America lies a breathing entity. It's not just a national park, but a colossal, dormant supervolcano. It possesses the power to change the fate of the entire planet. It's called an impenetrable fortress, hidden from humankind for millions of years. In this land, the boundary between magnificent life-building and devastating destruction is separated only by a thin layer of Earth's crust. Welcome to the wild era of Yellowstone. The journey to explore the impossible begins at a bizarre oasis called Midway Geyser Basin. Despite its relatively small size compared to the vastness of the national park, this place contains some of nature's most extreme geological phenomena. The entire area is connected by a wooden walkway over a kilometer long, winding through hazy mist. Each step on this path is a confrontation with the scorching heat emanating from the earth and the pungent, characteristic smell of sulfur. Standing on the wooden walkways, viewers feel as if they are walking on the thin line of another planet, where the ground could collapse and erupt at any moment beneath their feet. The first stop on this breathtaking trail is Excelsior Geyser. It was once one of the world's largest geysers. However, it has now transformed into a massive, constantly active hot spring. Its power is demonstrated by the terrifying numbers. Every minute, Excelsior pours thousands of gallons of boiling water down into the nearby Firehole River. The collision between the deadly water and the cool river creates a magnificent spectacle. Thick, hot, white smoke continuously rises from the deep blue lake. This smoke completely obscures visibility. The atmosphere here becomes incredibly eerie. It's like a prehistoric fantasy film. Right next to the fierce and misty Excelsior lies the Grand Prismatic Spring. It is the park's iconic wonder and also its largest hot spring. Viewed from above, it resembles a magnificent giant eye of the earth gazing straight up at the sky, with vibrant colors so dazzling that it's hard to believe they're real. The center of the pool is a deep blue, surrounded by concentric circles that gradually transition from yellow and green to a brilliant fiery orange at the outer edge. This magical color doesn't come from inorganic minerals, but from extreme bacterial mats. These are the only organisms capable of surviving and thriving in water with temperatures close to boiling point. The Grand Prismatic is nature's most powerful affirmation that life always finds a way, even in the harshest and most improbable places on Earth. Yellowstone's Grand Canyon is one of the rare places where the power of time is clearly evident on every cliff face. The canyon, over 30 kilometers long, has been relentlessly eroded by the Yellowstone River for hundreds of thousands of years, creating sheer cliffs more than 300 meters deep. From above, the emerald green river meanders through the canyon like a thin silk ribbon, further highlighting the immense size of the surrounding rock walls. But what makes Yellowstone's Grand Canyon an icon of the entire national park lies in its rare colors. The rock layers gradually change from lemon yellow, earthy yellow, pale orange to pink and ivory white, creating a vibrant scene as if illuminated from within. These colors gave birth to the famous name Yellowstone. They are the result of millions of years of mineral-rich hot water seeping through layers of volcanic rock, oxidizing iron and many other minerals, and slowly coloring the entire canyon. Each cliff face thus not only records the history of ancient eruptions, but also tells the story of the geothermal energy that continues to silently shape this land to this day. The heart of the entire canyon lies downstream on the Yellowstone River. Lower Falls. The roar of the water echoes through the canyon, reverberating from one cliff to another like a continuous, thunderous roar. Then a white mist begins to appear, swirling from the bottom of the gorge and obscuring the view ahead. Only when standing at the edge of the canyon does the full scene become clear. The Yellowstone River suddenly narrows and plunges down more than 90 meters. This is one of the most majestic waterfalls in North America, almost twice as tall as the famous Niagara Falls. Every second, tens of thousands of gallons of water crash against the rock face with tremendous force, shaking the canyon and creating a massive column of steam that rises continuously. Yet amidst this fierce spectacle, nature still reserves room for gentleness. When the sunlight pierces through the fine mist, unexpected rainbows appear, suspended between the two cliffs. A fleeting moment, yet enough to transform a place once shaped by the destructive power of water and rock into one of Yellowstone's most beautiful landscapes. Despite the extremely harsh terrain, the canyon's interior is a world teeming with life. The sheer cliffs, hundreds of meters high, become the nesting ground for ospreys. They drag branches up the precarious rock peaks, building enormous nests suspended in midair. For humans, it's almost impossible to set foot there. But for ospreys, it's a perfect fortress. This deadly location allows their young to escape the sight of bears and wolves. On the nearly vertical slopes, another inhabitant achieves the seemingly impossible. That is the bighorn sheep. They move along cliffs so narrow that there's barely enough room for a single hoof. The soft pads of their hooves, combined with their hard edges, act like natural climbing shoes, allowing them to grip the small ledges and maintain balance right on the edge of the abyss. It is precisely the most rugged places that become effective shields against predators. The Grand Canyon of Yellowstone is therefore not only a geological masterpiece, it is also proof that anywhere on Earth, no matter how harsh, life always finds a way to adapt, survive, and thrive. Today, Yellowstone's Grand Canyon is one of America's most famous landmarks. But in the mid-19th century, it was virtually a blank space on the map. In 1869, the Cook-Folsom-Peterson expedition became the first to document this magnificent canyon in a relatively complete way. Before them were dazzlingly colorful cliffs, the Yellowstone River cascading down the canyon's bottom, and lower falls roaring in the vast expanse. They even thought they were seeing an illusion. Upon their return, their records were dismissed as crazy lies, as no one believed such a magnificent place could exist. It was hard to believe that in the wilderness there existed a canyon with such vibrant colors and geothermal phenomena, thought to be only legends. Just a few years later, expeditions and geologists confirmed that all the records were completely accurate. These discoveries contributed to Yellowstone becoming the world's first national park, opening a new chapter in the history of nature conservation. The Lamar Valley unfolds like an endless sea of grasslands in the Yellowstone Highlands. It's known as the Serengeti of North America, home to one of the highest concentrations of wildlife on the continent. But when winter arrives, the landscape changes completely. Temperatures can plummet to below -40 degrees Celsius. Snow blankets the hills, meadows, and even the horizon. The wind howls incessantly, swirling white snow across the valley. Then, amidst the blizzard, colossal figures begin to appear. Bison, the last remaining descendants of the Ice Age in this land. Adult males can weigh over a ton, yet they move silently forward through the snow and wind as if the cold doesn't exist. Whenever food is buried under thick snow, they lower their heavy heads, channeling all their strength into their massive necks and shoulders to break through the icy crust. With just a few butts, the dry grass was revealed beneath the snow. Hot breaths of air rushed into the freezing cold, quickly condensing into thick white smoke that enveloped their bodies. Amidst the harsh winter storm, the herd of bulls continued to march silently, like armored vehicles born to conquer this icy land. Winter is not just a test of cold. It's also the time when predators begin to dominate the Lamar Valley. Amidst the snow-covered pine forest, a few dark figures silently glide by and quickly disappear. Only the footprints imprinted on the snow indicate that they truly passed through. These are Yellowstone gray wolves, a species that had disappeared from this land for nearly 70 years. In the early 20th century, hunting campaigns wiped out the gray wolf from the park. Without a top predator, the Yellowstone ecosystem gradually lost its balance. It wasn't until 1995 that a new chapter truly began. 14 gray wolves were brought back to Yellowstone in a historic conservation project. From those first individuals, wolf packs gradually formed, and one of the world's most successful ecosystem restorations began. But their return didn't just change the number of prey. It changed Yellowstone. The howling of wolves echoed through the winter night, reverberating from one hillside to another. It wasn't just a way for individuals to call to each other or mark territory. It was also a signal that the food chain had been restored, and the primal rhythm of the wilderness was once again functioning as it should. The most miraculous thing the gray wolf brought back to Yellowstone wasn't fear. It was balance. The The return of the apex predator triggered a chain reaction of ecological changes that stretched across the Lamar Valley. Scientists call this the trophic cascade. With the wolf's return, moose herds no longer stayed as long in the riverside meadows, where they were easily targeted. The pressure to graze decreased, giving willow, poplar, and many other native plant species a chance to recover. In just a few years, strips of green began to cover the once barren riverbanks. And then, these seemingly small changes created a much larger effect. The roots of the trees held the soil, reducing erosion and contributing to the stability of the riverbanks. Many areas began to retain water better, allowing beavers, waterfowl, and a host of other animals to return. The entire ecosystem gradually regained its normal rhythm after decades of imbalance. Yellowstone today is considered one of the most successful examples of ecosystem recovery. And it all began with the return of a predator species. Mammoth Hot Springs is one of Yellowstone's most bizarre landscapes. From afar, the entire mountainside appears covered in massive layers of white ice. The rocks form a series of giant staircases stretching down the slope. This scene leads many to believe the area is permanently frozen. But the truth is quite the opposite. Beneath the white rock, hot water continuously erupts from deep within the earth. It carries a large amount of dissolved minerals, constantly flowing over the rocks before evaporating into the cold air. It is the heat of Yellowstone's geothermal system that creates this strange world. The surface resembles ice and snow, while beneath lies a source of energy silently simmering day and night. The most remarkable thing about Mammoth Hot Springs is that it never truly stands still. Unlike most cliffs on Earth, which take millions of years to change, the travertine terraces at Mammoth are constantly growing and transforming every day. Underground, hot water dissolves limestone and brings it to the surface. As the water comes into contact with the air, carbon dioxide escapes, and calcium carbonate deposits, forming thin layers that create new terraces. In some places, they grow a few millimeters each year. In others, growth stops and the water turns gray as the flow changes direction. Meanwhile, in another corner, the mineral waters begin to create an entirely new structure. There is no mammoth hot springs of yesterday or tomorrow. The landscape here is constantly changing. Each stream of water can create a different shape. Each season leaves behind a different color. Mammoth is therefore more than just a geological wonder. It is a structure that the Earth itself continues to build every day. At first glance, Mammoth Hot Springs appears to be covered in a monotonous white. But as you approach, the entire slope begins to reveal streaks of yellow, orange, brown, and sometimes even pale turquoise. These streaks meander along the mineral water, creating soft lines as if painted on the rock by a giant artist. Few would guess that these colors are created by organisms so tiny they are almost invisible to the naked eye. These are thermophilic microorganisms, life forms that can survive in water nearly 90 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, most other organisms would struggle to survive. Each species thrives in a different temperature range and produces distinct pigments. Where the water is still very hot, the rock formations retain almost the pure white color of the minerals. As the water cools, more and more microorganisms appear, covering the rocks with vibrant streaks of color like lively brushstrokes. Mammoth Hot Springs is therefore not just a geological marvel. It is also a place where life and volcanoes come together to create a constantly changing masterpiece. Few know that these mineral-rich waters sometimes even cover tree trunks with layers of white travertine. When the tree dies, its shape remains intact, like a stone statue amidst the steam, becoming part of the Mammoth Hot Springs landscape. Yellowstone Lake is the largest lake in the entire national park. Situated at an elevation of over 357 meters above sea level. It is also one of the largest high-altitude freshwater lakes in North America. Every morning, the lake's surface is almost perfectly still. A thin layer of mist drifts lazily across the water, deflecting the pine forests and snow-capped peaks in the distance. The scene is so tranquil that it's hard to believe it's still being shaped by geological forces deep beneath the earth. But Yellowstone Lake is more than just a lake. Beneath the surface lies part of the vast geothermal system that created all of Yellowstone. Even though the water's surface is almost completely still. Heat from deep within the earth silently rises through hundreds of geothermal structures at the bottom of the lake. Very few people have ever seen the true landscape beneath Yellowstone Lake. In areas like Mary Bay, the lake bed is densely packed with geothermal fissures, geysers, and vents. From beneath the cold water, streams of mineral-rich hot water continuously rise, carrying with them a constant stream of air bubbles to the surface. Many of these underwater structures are still active, indicating that the heat source beneath Yellowstone has never disappeared. Submarine and sonar surveys have also uncovered numerous sinkholes, geothermal mounds, and continuously forming sedimentary layers around the vents. This is one of the very few lakes in the world where geothermal activity continues directly beneath the surface, creating a landscape almost completely isolated from the world above. In winter, much of Yellowstone Lake is covered in ice and snow for months. However, at West Thumb Geyser Basin, hot water from geothermal springs continuously flows along the lake's edge, keeping some areas from freezing. These small patches of water become a gathering place for many animal species. River otters often appear to hunt fish in the still warm water. Many water birds also come here to feed when the lake is covered in ice. Occasionally, herds of bison pass through the geothermal area, where the rising steam helps to ward off the winter chill. Even during the coldest months, the geothermal heat keeps parts of the lake's edge from freezing, providing a habitat for many animals. The Upper Geyser Basin boasts the highest concentration of geysers ever known on Earth. within just a few square kilometers. Hundreds of geysers, geothermal pools, and hot springs coexist in a landscape still heated from below. Steam rises throughout the valley, creating a sense of constant movement, even when everything seems still. But among those hundreds of geysers, there's one name that almost every visitor to Yellowstone seeks out first. That's Old Faithful. It's rare for people to patiently wait for a natural phenomenon. But in Yellowstone, it happens every day. The wooden benches surrounding the geyser are almost always packed with people. Cameras are ready. Phones are raised. Right next to the walkway, the schedule for the next eruption is constantly updated. Thousands of people gaze at a patch of land, silently emitting steam, waiting for the next moment. Old Faithful isn't the tallest or largest geyser in the world. In terms of height alone, Steamboat Geyser in the north of the park can erupt nearly twice as high. But Old Faithful is more famous than all of them. The reason lies in its rare stability. In 1870, when the Washburn-Langford Doane expedition passed through the area, they noticed that the geyser was more regular than any other geyser they had observed. Therefore, they named it Old Faithful, meaning reliable old friend. More than a century and a half later, that name still holds true. Old Faithful isn't the tallest or most powerful geyser in Yellowstone. What makes it an icon of the park is its rare stability. Based on the timing and duration of previous eruptions, rangers can predict the timing of the next eruption with fairly accurate results, usually with an error margin of only a few minutes. Perhaps that's why, every day, thousands of people are still willing to sit and wait, just for a column of water to shoot up from the ground. Then the moment arrived. The steam before the vent suddenly thickened. Bursts of hot water began to erupt from the ground. Just seconds later, a massive column of water suddenly shot straight up into the sky. In its major eruptions, Old Faithful can send columns of water over 55 meters high, equivalent to a nearly 20-story building. Tens of thousands of liters of almost boiling water are launched into the air in between 1 and 5 minutes. The hissing of steam through the rock crevices, combined with the sound of the rushing water, creates an echoing sound throughout the upper geyser basin. Behind this spectacle lies a very simple yet extraordinary mechanism. Rainwater and melting snow seep deep into the earth, heated by the heat from the magma system beneath Yellowstone. When the pressure in the rock crevices reaches its limit, the steam expands extremely rapidly, propelling the entire column of water above the ground with great force. When the pressure subsides, Old Faithful returns to a state of stillness, waiting to begin a new cycle. This process has repeated itself for thousands of years, making Old Faithful one of the world's most famous geysers. As the sunset fades over the autumn-colored mountain ranges and snow-capped plains, Yellowstone sinks into darkness. The plumes of steam from the geysers still rise silently into the hazy air, like the gentle yet enduring breaths of the earth. Yellowstone is not simply a national park, nor is it merely a wild natural fortress. It is a living reminder of the primal power that gave birth to and nurtured this planet. Beneath every blade of grass, every river, and every animal's footprint, the supervolcano's flames burn silently. It is ready to flatten everything. Yet it is also the source of life, warming thousands of creatures through the freezing winter. Yellowstone's existence teaches humanity a lesson in humility. We do not control nature, we are merely fortunate witnesses to its devastating and majestic beauty. The heartbeat of the earth beneath Yellowstone has never ceased. It has been rumbling for millions of years and will continue to echo for generations to come.